It's quite common actually for service actually need to talk to service. I think in the old days actually probably as COBOL, so it's actually using certain communication protocols. Then later RMI or uh, remote procedure calls. I think it's actually an evolving tail a day. It's actually using SOAP. Then SOAP basically is actually using the web XML, which is actually much tedious because it actually includes a lot of unnecessary header, those kind of things. Then later it's actually changing it to REST. I think nowadays actually I think it's probably 2015 or something. Facebook actually got this GraphQL thing. It's actually open source it, probably somewhere to 2015. So compared to REST, there's actually one very good or important benefit for GraphQL, which is it will actually solve the issue for overfetching, underfetching. So overfetching means if there's one REST endpoint, let's say providing a service for other service. So probably it's the same API. Then when people call it, maybe give it order ID. Then what that thing trying to do is it's basically trying to tell, okay, this is actually the order detail. So maybe from this tree there at this date, at this what time, and also for how much quantity and this security, those kind of things. So it's actually fixed. So GraphQL actually solves that issue because some people probably just interested in to know that order ID corresponding to the order ID, what's the trader's name. Another person probably just interested to know what's the security name. So it solves that issue, which is actually overfetching, get too much data. Then as for underfetching, it's actually possible, which is one REST endpoint is actually not enough. Maybe for all the details, it only gives you all the information, but probably we're also interested in the settlements. So if through REST, actually we need to make two requests. So one is actually for order. Then secondly, we need to make another request actually for the basically for the payment or the settlements. So that's basically the two issues for REST, and also similarly how REST actually save or change the way SOAP is actually using. GraphQL, I think ultimately is actually going to help or change the way how REST is doing. So REST actually basically saves all those XML messages. Then I think GraphQL then basically I think it's actually going to save all those unnecessary JSON components. So as for Java, there is actually very good libraries for it for GraphQL. I think there are actually multiple different libraries actually in the other languages. I think Node.js got certain libraries, and also for other languages. For Java, Netflix actually got a good library. So today we will see, it's called DGS. Today we will see how it looks like. So so I'm actually using Maven here, but it's actually the same to for Gradle and VBB, manually add the libraries. So the library needed is actually a DGS platform dependencies. It's actually the BOM, basically to tell the versions for different dependencies. So similarly, there's a DGS starter. So with these two libraries on the class path, what it's going to do is actually it's going to enable certain certain components. So DGS component is basically one component basically to tell, okay, this is actually ultimately the REST controller. Then correspondingly for the REST controller is basically to tell, okay, I'm actually going to map, for example, for this stuff, or maybe let's see, we can basically give it a name. We can call it whatever. So this will be basically the endpoints. So we can basically tell this is actually the endpoint. Let's see, maybe we call it employee. Then similarly, yeah. So there's another component which is actually called DGS. I think it's DGS data. Yeah, DGS data. So we can basically tell what's the type for it. So parent type is actually, so for this case, it will be query. But sometimes actually this parent type can be so let's see under staff, there's address thing. So let's just assume there's this thing there. But really we don't have it. So just a random example. So what this thing will have is, so this thing, what these two things we will resolve is basically this employee. So if we actually query for employee, it will actually give us the data we needed. Then at the same time, under employee, we can actually ask, what's the address for their employee. So address could be another component. So that's how DGS data and also DGS parent tag looks like. I think for now, probably we can just use this sample project to see how it looks like for now. So for the case, if the method name is actually the name we are interested, the endpoint we are interested, then we don't need to specify the field name. So here, basically the endpoint name will be staff. This is actually from the Java side, but DGS ultimately is actually a schema driven. So it's actually trying to pass this schema. So basically the parent type is a query. So it's actually trying to get all the stuff and also basically there's also a filtering here. So for basically for certain name of this stuff, so certain stuff with this name, we want to see some of the details. So let's see how the GraphQL part looks like. So I have this thing already open here. So okay, I think I didn't run it. Let's run it. Okay, I think now it started. So let's see how it looks like. Yeah, so basically it actually comes with GraphQL. It's actually a web UI tools basically help us to navigate what's the schema. So there are actually two entry points. One is staff, basically to got all the staffs, name, age, country, salary. So at the same time, there's actually another endpoint which is staff. For certain interested name, then it will tell us that staff's information. So let's see for the overfetching and underfetching thing. I think normally let's see corresponding to REST, right? What REST will do is normally, so REST basically will tell us, okay, there is actually this. Let's give an example. So it will probably say, no, this is actually there's an API here. There's okay, this is the REST API. So what we are interested in is for staff, and also what's the staff name. So that's what REST normally will do. But the thing with it is it will come with all the information. It basically could come with name, age, country, salary, everything. But for us, probably we are only interested, let's say, maybe because we're only interested in country and salary. So this thing basically is so-called overfetching. So REST actually probably gives us too much information, but we only use these two. So these things can be done. Then another case is similarly for the staff and entry points to get all the things. The corresponding REST could be employees or staffs. Then this basically gives us everything. So similarly, so for because it's overfetching, we are probably not interested in everything. Probably we are not interested in salary. Maybe actually there's some security restrictions. We cannot do that easier. So instead of actually giving everything, GraphQL actually can give us only these 3 attributes only. But this is actually not all. This is not all the benefit yet. Because just now we see there are actually 2 REST endpoints, which is actually for staff, and also another REST endpoint for staffs. So so there are basically 2 endpoints here. What GraphQL can do is it actually can combine this in one round trip. So imagine probably you can have maybe 1,000 or 2,000. It's not but any random number of endpoints. So GraphQL can do is it actually can do this everything in one go. So if people are interested, let's just assume we also got an address endpoints here. So probably tell employee's name. Let's see, staff 1. Then it gives us the corresponding information. So with this actually it can give us all the information we need in one go. So let's see it. So here, if we do that, so basically actually we got the data back, but this data back is really correspondingly, if it's for REST, it's actually 2 different REST calls. So we got one staff specific to name 1. So we got his salary, is his number. Then for staffs, basically we got all the staffs here. I think that's probably it regarding the GraphQL part. Then for DGS, it's actually pretty